so we never ended up getting one of those Dana White breaking news videos announcing 2 more big fights for UFC 300 last night. However, we did get some fight announcements. The rematch between Brandon Moreno and Brandon Royval goes down at UFC Fight Night on February 24th. Their first fight went down in November of 2020. Brandon Moreno won via TKO in the first round. Next, we have Cody Garbrandt versus Deiveson Figueiredo booked for UFC 300. AG Fight first broke the news regarding this fight. Cody versus Deiveson will take place at bantamweight. Next, we have Rose Namajunas versus Amanda Ribas. Rose will be staying at 125 pounds despite her recent unsuccessful debut. The fight is set to go down at UFC Fight Night on March 23rd. Who do you guys got for these fights? Post your predictions in the comments. Tony Ferguson reveals a fan came up to take a picture with him and thought he was Charles Oliveira.
Hey, what's up, crew? I'm pre-workout. I'm at pre-op right now, and funny as just happened. I'm checking in. There's a guy walks by. He's like, "Oh, this man, take a picture." He goes, "Put your hands out." Start to pose, and all of a sudden he's like, "Look, babe, it's Charles Oliveira." I was about to say, you can call me Chuck.
Chris Weidman admits this fight against Bruno Silva may be his last. Weidman vs. Silva goes down on March 30th at UFC Fight Night in Atlantic City. Weidman said, "Honestly, I wasn't sure either. I'm setting myself up for the future, and I wasn't sure. I was kind of listening to my body, just trying to get healthy. Mentally and motivational-wise, and technique-wise, I still think I'm top of the world. But my body's just taking a beating. This could be my last fight. I'm going to kind of make that decision throughout the training camp and see how I feel. If my body can handle a hard training camp again, and it might be the last one, it might not be." The reason why I even took this fight pretty quickly, it didn't even matter who it was because it was offered in Atlantic City. That's where I started my career, was Atlantic City, because at the time, MMA wasn't legal in New York. The New York guys had to fight in Ring of Combat in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I just think it would be pretty cool to go back where it all started and see how I feel. Obviously, it's a good payday, see how my body feels, and we'll go from there. Arman Tsarukyan shuts down Islam Makhachev's game plan for 2024. Islam posted this to X a few days ago. He wrote June 8th UFC pay-per-view versus Gaethje, November UFC MSG, Oliveira Arman, February 2025 versus anybody. Arman recently went on Daniel Cormier's YouTube channel and responded to this post. He says Justin Gaethje will have to wait. Arman faces Charles Oliveira at UFC 300.
Islam said he wants to fight Justin in June, the winner of you and Charles in October, and then he wants to come back again at the beginning of next year. What do you make of that statement from the champion?
You know, I think he should wait us because we are gonna be contender #1, and hopefully they're not gonna book that fight for the summer, and they're gonna wait us. And like after when I win, I'm gonna fight with Islam, and then we can talk about Gaethje.
You think that Islam?
So because I feel like we are next. Gaethje gotta wait us. Gaethje gotta wait October. Okay, we're gonna fight for the title in summer. Me or who wins? Me or Oliveira? So we are both believe.
You want to fight in April, then back again in like the summer? You want to be available back in like July after you fight in April at UFC 300?
Who knows? Maybe I'm not gonna get hurt and like fight in July.
Do you think that you and Islam are just far ahead of everyone else?
Yeah, I do.
Aljamain Sterling is confident that he will never fight at bantamweight again. He makes his featherweight debut against Calvin Kattar at UFC 300. Speaking to MMA Junkie, Aljo said, "Safe to say I'm done at bantamweight. One of my managers was asking about that, about going down to 135. And I said, brother, let's stop this conversation right here. There's no more 135. I didn't even want to do it last time. Whatever, I'm not going to bring it up again because people are going to say I'm making excuses. But this is all factual. But 135 is done. I'm excited to get back. I think that's the most important thing. I want the fans to know I'm excited to get back, and I'm going to have a new life, new energy at this weight class. I'm definitely nervous because I'm used to being the bigger guy, even though I don't get that big when I rehydrate at 135. But I think I left some stuff in the gym cutting down to 135, so I'd like to see what I could do at 145, and I'm going to shock the world. Both Michael Bisping and Chael Sonnen seem to think that Tom Aspinall fighting Brock Lesnar at UFC 300 is actually a possibility. Tom reposted quotes from both Bisping and Chael to his Instagram story. Tom first reposted Bisping. Bisping said it sounds stupid because Brock Lesnar is no spring chicken. He's 46 years old. But remember, Randy Couture fought on to the ripe old age of about 47. Fighters have gone longer. Guess what? When there's millions of dollars on the line, people will come and fight. And people would love to see Brock Lesnar stepping in there once again. Who would really push the needle in a massive way? Brock Lesnar. He's only 46, he's still a draw, people love him. The UFC and the WWE, they're both owned by the same parent company now, so I would imagine that the politics and the contractual stuff, that would be pretty easy waters to navigate. I can't see that being a hurdle. But who would the opponent be? Bisping later suggested Tom Aspinall. Tom then reposted this alleged quote from Chael. It says, Tom Aspinall versus Brock Lesnar. That would just be mental. And that is the type of thing that I think the UFC are going to do. What do you guys think? Do you think there's any possibility of Brock Lesnar returning at UFC 300? Post your takes in the comments. Dricus Du Plessis fired back at Khamzat Chimaev recently, claiming that the UFC promised him a middleweight title shot. If you haven't seen what Khamzat said, he told Low Kick MMA 100%. Sean Strickland has good fighter who he's fighting with, Du Plessis. And if he wins against this guy, for sure we're going to fight 100%. They promised for me that fight, so now we're going to wait who's winning the fight and then take the belt. In an interview with MMA Junkie, Dricus Du Plessis responded saying, as far as I know, Khamzat's a welterweight. What middleweight did he fight? He fought at middleweight, but he fought a welterweight. Gerald Mearshart? When was that? Was he even ranked? No, he wasn't ranked. So that makes absolutely no sense. The UFC promised him a title fight? Where in the world does that happen? And he says he's fighting Strickland. No, you're not. If there's a champion, if you get a title shot, I'm the champion. You're not going to get a title shot. And Israel Adesanya, that makes sense. This fight, just like every other fight, has consumed me. The title has always been the next step. Step closer to the title and closer to the title. Right now, my step, the one big step, but far from the final step, is fighting for that belt. In my mind, my whole life can stop on that night. I'll win or I'll die trying. My life in my mind stops after that fight. After that fight, my whole life is in front of me. This to me is the end for me, because this has been the goal for such a long time. This goal. I don't really care what happens after that for now. I'll start thinking about what happens after that when we get there. Then my planning starts with the rest of my career. I'm really excited for that part, because it's even more spectacular. But for now, this is the end of Dricus not as a champion. That ends next week, Saturday. And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. For daily MMA news and content, subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post videos. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's from Jay Kennedy 0204. It says, LMAO, the remaining 30% are telling Dana they're going to oil him up. The second one's from Janny 890. It says, Tom should defend his interim title. It's such an insane sentence. UFC is turning into boxing. And the final one's from Joe. It says, if you stayed up late for a fight announcement from Dana, that's on you. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured in the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen right now to get caught up.